What if I told you that the United States wouldn't exist if it weren't for pirates, tobacco, and a desperate queen? In the 1500s, Europe was hungry for power. Spain, France, and England all looked across the Atlantic and saw the same thing: land, wealth, and global dominance. Spain had already claimed massive parts of South and Central America, but England, it was still just watching. That would soon change. England was late to the colonial party, but why? The answer lies in religion, rivalry, and riches. Protestant England hated Catholic Spain. Writers like Richard Hakluyt said colonizing America wasn't just good for England, it was God's will. Colonies would give jobs to England's poor and bring in gold, silver, and resources. And above all, it would challenge Spain's control of the continent. Queen Elizabeth wasn't ready for full-scale colonization yet, so she sent in pirates or privateers like Francis Drake. Their job? Raid Spanish ships, steal treasure, and weaken their hold in America. Drake and others looted Spanish ports across the Caribbean and South America. The Spanish were furious. When England executed Mary, Queen of Scots, a Catholic, Spain had had enough. In 1588, King Philip II of Spain sent the mighty Spanish Armada to crush England, but nature stepped in. Storms scattered the Spanish ships, and England's faster navy defeated the rest. It was a turning point. England had survived. Now it was ready to colonize. England's first attempt at a colony came in 1587, on Roanoke Island, led by John White. 115 settlers vanished without a trace. White returned from England years later to find a deserted camp, and one word carved into a tree: Croatoan. The mystery remains unsolved. But England wasn't giving up. In 1607, a new colony began in Virginia, Jamestown. It wasn't easy. Swamps, disease, and hunger nearly wiped them out. The settlers weren't farmers or builders. They were merchants and gentlemen, unprepared for the wild. By winter's end, most were dead. The only thing that saved Jamestown, help from the Powhatan tribe. They showed settlers how to plant, fish, and survive. One woman in particular, Pocahontas, would play a big role in keeping peace. She married John Rolfe, and for a short time, the two worlds found balance. John Rolfe introduced tobacco farming, and it changed everything. Tobacco became the cash crop England had hoped for. Within decades, Jamestown was exporting millions of pounds to Europe. Suddenly, what was once a failing colony became a booming success. But success came with a cost. As more settlers arrived, the English pushed deeper into native land. Tensions rose. In 1622, Powhatan's brother launched a surprise attack, killing over 300 settlers. The English responded with brutal force. Peace was broken, and England's future colonies would be far more aggressive. Coexistence was no longer the plan. Expansion was. The success of Virginia inspired more colonies. 1620, the Pilgrims founded Plymouth in Massachusetts. By the late 1600s, England had colonies up and down the East Coast. From New York to South Carolina, settlers built towns, farms, and governments. Each colony had its own culture, but all were tied to England and dependent on trade, agriculture, and land. Some colonists came for profit, others came for faith. Groups like the Puritans, Quakers, and Catholics faced persecution in Europe. America became a place of new beginnings, a land of religious freedom for some, not all. But this freedom didn't extend to the natives, or to the enslaved Africans who would soon be brought to the colonies. By the 1700s, the English colonies were rich, crowded, and powerful. They were no longer tiny villages. They were full-scale settlements. England's grip on North America was tightening. Spain and France still had territory, but the English were quickly becoming the dominant force. From a risky gamble to an empire of tobacco, trade, and towns, the colonization of America had begun a new chapter in world history. The road to colonization was paved with ambition, survival, and struggle, but it was only the beginning. Soon, these colonies would rise up and form something completely new, a revolution. Subscribe to ChronoQuest for more powerful stories from the past. Like, comment, and share if you want the Revolutionary War episode next.